At 5 starts with this breaking news alert.
Governor mentioned reopening updates. We have several of them today.
Busy Thursday, a lot breaking out of the governor's briefing today. Daycares, day camps, campgrounds, BMVs, gyms, fitness centers, even community pools and local sports leagues, all getting the green light to open by the end of the month.
A big day. We're going to get to all of them for you. We'll start with the one that you've been asking us about the most, though. Haley Nelson leading us off tonight with daycares. Haley?
Bob, this is perhaps one of the biggest questions I have been getting. How can I go back to work? How can folks go back to work if they don't have childcare available? Now the green light for childcare to open on May 31st, but that is with a lot of safety guidelines, and I want to go over those. It's mandatory that centers have fewer kids per staff member. For example, like 1 staff member per 9 school-aged children in a room. Employees must test symptoms. Kids must wash hands when they enter the classroom, and no field trips. I talked to the team at the Goddard School in New Albany. They tell me it's a relief for them and parents to finally have a date to look to. Before the pandemic, they had around 180 kids, but since they've been operating with 20 only as a pandemic center. They're working out plans now with phones lighting up with calls and messages.
The way we're kind of looking at it is we may have to reduce our hours to just like an 8 to 5. Instead of the 7 to 6, just reducing it on either side so that we can have less staff at a time taking care of the kids.
And the center director says they will be ready. They plan to take the temperature of all kids upon entering and more, like even color coding toys perhaps for certain children to use. And they're looking into whether they could benefit from relief dollars mentioned by Governor Mike DeWine. And we did hear him mention during the briefing today that they will be over the next few days surveying which centers are planning to open or not. Some concerns were raised to him. Could certain people, could certain families be left out given these staff to student ratios? He says the goal is not to leave anyone out, and they plan to review the situation. Live in New Albany, I'm Haley Nelson, ABC 6 News.
Thank you, Haley. Well, daycare is just the tip of the iceberg. A lot is going to change here in the next 17 days. This starts tomorrow with restaurants for outdoor dining, same with barbershops and salons. Next Thursday, campgrounds can reopen just in time for Memorial Day weekend. A day later, racetracks reopen, though casinos and racinos cannot. So do restaurant dining rooms. Pools, gyms, fitness centers, and BMV locations reopen the day after Memorial Day, May 26th. And last but certainly not least, the daycares and the day camps on May 31st.
Now, of course, we know that is a lot to digest, so we are posting all of that information for you on the ABC6 app and on our website.
And with so much reopening, Tom Bosco's digging into the reasons behind these decisions. Well, Tom, what's the governor's message here?
Well, the message really is caution. That's what he and the health department director repeated over and over. That is as they are prepared to allow thousands of Ohioans to get back out into the public. Now, Governor Mike DeWine says that it is more important today, maybe than it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, for folks to follow the rules of social distancing. That comes as he allows thousands of kids to go back to daycare and allows others to go back to those campgrounds, gyms, pools, and more. But Governor Mike DeWine admitted the numbers aren't where he initially wanted them to be before reopening Ohio's economy.
We had hoped to see that start to go down. So we've plateaued pretty much for over 3 weeks. Not exactly where we wanted to be, but we did not have that huge surge that we were worried about either.
Now, DeWine says he's going to use federal money to help bolster daycares, which will no doubt see a financial hit with the limits in the numbers of kids they can supervise. He realizes that reducing class sizes in daycares are going to mean that some parents are going to get shut out of daycares, but he also calls all of this a work in progress. Now, still left unmentioned today, movie theaters and large sports venues and concert venues. Of course, the governor all along has warned that reopening those large venues will likely be among the last places to be reopened. Reporting live at the State House, I'm Tom Bosco, ABC 6 News.
Pools can reopen on May the 26th. Only talking about pools that are regulated by local health departments. These could be public pools or clubs.
Well, as it warms up, we'll be able to cool off at the pools now as long as they follow certain guidelines. The change is leading to a lot of questions, though, about whether your local pool, public or private, can reopen. Maria Durant helping us to sort through all of this tonight. Maria?
Well, that's right. Just this afternoon, the governor announcing that pools can reopen later this month, but it doesn't mean that they have to. In fact, here at Grandview Heights, this city pool here already announcing that they did not want to open for the summer. Now, that could still change. So, according to the governor, you can go swimming this summer, both at city pools and private pools. But there's a list of guidelines, such as social distancing and even limiting the amount of people attending the pools. The pools also have to meet guidelines and recommendations from the city health department. And Columbus's health commissioner has already told us that she doesn't think it's a good idea for pools to reopen. As for private pools, such as your apartment complex, according to the local and national apartment complex association, each apartment complex will need to take a hard look at implementing safety standards.
We're finding that a lot of our apartment operators are using forms of technology, allowing residents to be able to log in of sorts and say, you know, I'm coming on this day and this time, and there's a set limit.
Yeah, I think there'll be less lounge chairs probably, and there'll be certain limits with how many people can be within the pool area, and definitely will look different, but it will be nice for people to be outside and enjoy themselves.
And we did reach out to the city of Columbus to find out its plans on reopening, whether or not it will reopen pools. Here's what they said in a statement. We are incredibly encouraged by today's announcement that Ohio families will have access to childcare, summer youth programming, and camps that will keep our children healthy and safe this summer. Columbus Recreation and Parks has been working diligently to develop safety protocols to provide opportunities for young people this summer, and we will announce plans for Columbus Parks, recreation centers, and pools in the near future. Bottom line, the city tells me, is that safety is their top priority. In Grandview Heights, I'm Maria Durant, ABC 6 News.
Thank you, Maria. Let's take a look now at the unemployment situation in Ohio. Another 51,000 people filed claims for the first time last week. Those numbers have been dropping since the last week in March. But still, in all, the pandemic has put more than 1 million Ohioans out of work. Nationally, you'll see the downward trend looks similar. Just shy of 3 million Americans filed last week, bringing the 9-week total to a little less than 36.5 million. Now, unemployment has been the lifeline and source of frustration for millions amid the coronavirus pandemic. Many of you still have unanswered questions about what is happening in our state. So ABC 6 is on your side, taking a closer look at what's really happening there. Now, since the start of the pandemic, nearly 1.2 million Ohioans have filed for unemployment claims. That's more than the combined total over the last 3 years. The Ohio Department of Job and Family Services has repeatedly told us that amount of claims overwhelmed the 16-year-old system. In recent weeks, they've made upgrades with staff and more to help.
We have, in addition, deployed virtual chatbot assistants, other automated technology resources that we hope also will help individuals navigate from a self-service standpoint.
ABC 6 is peeling back the curtain, taking a look at how Ohio compares to other states and why unemployment money may soon run out. We're digging deeper into the unemployment struggle tonight at 11.
I was so excited. I was very happy.
Getting back to business. Barbershops and salons across the state set to open first thing on Friday morning. Customers, though, will notice some big changes when they walk through the doors. Investigator Rodney Dunnigan with what they can expect.
The focus will be on safety. Business owners following some pretty tough guidelines in efforts to keep the doors open.
Danny Eustachio relieved. He says it's been a tough few months.
Just to finally get the news that we can get back to work and safely was very, rewarding for me.
Like many business owners across Ohio, happy to be reopening soon.
All my clients started texting me, started calling me.
It was just a few weeks ago we first brought you his story, joining others across the state, sending a letter to Governor DeWine outlining a long list of safety measures they were willing to take.
It felt good, to actually be taken into consideration and actually to get a response.
Among the changes customers will notice here,
every time the combs go in there, that is a disinfectant solution.
Appointment-only service. Barbers required to wear a mask and gloves. And mandated cleanings between each customer.
He also stresses he will do everything he can to keep customers and barbers out of harm's way. Rodney Dunnigan, ABC 6 News.
We're tracking a pretty good line of showers and thunderstorms making their way through western Ohio now, and they're about to get into the Columbus metro area. In the last couple of minutes, we've had a brand new thunderstorm warning issued, and this does stretch into parts of Union and Madison counties. So this is a line out near Urbana right now that has a history of generating 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and so that's going to be an issue. That puts it into some of central Ohio and the metro area in the next few minutes. So these are moving pretty fast. So getting into Mechanicsburg at about 17 after 5, getting into Marysville by about 5:25, and then marching east toward Plain City, getting there around 5:33. So this is all moving eastward very quickly. There's also another storm up here in Crawford County, from Seneca County down into Crawford County, just the northwestern part up there near New Washington. Some of this line has also generated 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. We're looking for a lot of this to get through the Columbus metro area very quickly, because as it passes through, it is going to generate some high wind and then move on. By 11 o'clock, this is finished, and most of it is weakening even faster than that. So it's going to be a little stormy for about 45 minutes, and then it'll be over again. 73 by 8 o'clock tonight, and then we'll do a little bit of calming during the rest of the evening. We'll track some more of those in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Marshall. Our state's richest man is officially retired. Les Wexner, no longer the CEO or chairman of L Brands, the company that he founded here in the Columbus area. The 82-year-old will remain a member of the board. Wexner was the longest-serving CEO in S&P 500 history, with 56 years on the job. L Brands stock has dropped by more than half since early March, when an agreement to sell most of Victoria's Secret fell through.
One of the country's top scientists claims he was removed from his job because he disagreed with supervisors and Trump. I'm Scott Thuman in Washington with his controversial testimony.
All new at 5, an eventful morning for Mansfield police and state troopers ends with an arrest. It all started around 7:15 when a young woman went up to an officer at the Kroger store on Lexington Avenue and said her boyfriend was holding her friend at gunpoint inside a car. That's when officers say she ran off, got back into the car, which sped off. A state trooper eventually found them. The chase ended on West Hanley Road when the car hit a utility pole. The boyfriend was shocked by a live wire. He and the two women were taken to the hospital. We're told a loaded gun was found at the scene. The boyfriend, who is 17, will face charges. Some major accusations on Capitol Hill today, where an alleged whistleblower says he was removed from his job and reassigned because he disagreed with President Trump on a treatment for the virus. Chief political correspondent Scott Thuman explains the testimony from the country's former vaccine chief.
In a somber image to start the hearing, a moment of silence for victims of the virus. Then the accusations.
Dr. Bright has filed one of the most specific and troubling whistleblower complaints I've ever seen.
Without better planning, 2020 could be the darkest winter in modern history.
Dr. Richard Bright, one of the government's lead scientists, claims he was removed from his post as retaliation because he cautioned against the broad and potentially dangerous use of chloroquine, a drug President Trump often touted as a possible treatment. He claims he warned of a supply of shortages and suggested current leadership hasn't responded adequately.
The window is closing to address this pandemic, because we still do not have a standard, centralized, coordinated plan.
He looks like an angry, disgruntled employee who, frankly, according to some people, didn't do a very good job.
Now to include the Secretary of Health, who claims the well-known lack of equipment was instantly addressed.
So this is like somebody who was in a choir and is now trying to say he was a soloist back then. Oh, and by the way, whose job was it to actually lead the development of vaccines? Dr. Bright.
Bright claims it was in January when he pushed officials to start collecting more virus samples and build supplies, but Secretary Azar, everything that Bright complained about was eventually handled. On Capitol Hill, Thuman.
One big question we're hearing from you is about the return of large like sporting events and concerts. The new technology may be a key in getting fans stands. A company in upstate New York normally uses its drone sports arenas, sometimes from the inside. Now they're working to turn those drones into machines. The plan is for them to fly over seats and quickly spray them down.
Doing it with the drone, having the drone carry the spray equipment is just much more efficient. It's very quickly, much safer because heavy backpacks full of liquid. They're not going to be outfitted in PPP. They're not having exposed directly to the chemical.
The company says that disinfecting a 6,000-seat hockey arena would take less than 2 hours. Nationwide Arena has more than 3 times that many seats.
Tonight we are tracking some pretty strong storms that are moving through western Ohio. We've got tower cam pointed beyond the Osprey looking west right now, and you can see the dark clouds there in the distance. That's what's coming, and some of these are pretty strong. So as these storms have been moving through western Ohio, they've been generating some very strong wind gusts. So a severe thunderstorm warning is in effect right now for parts of Madison and Union counties, and that is because this line of thunderstorms has a history now of generating 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Those are the kind of gusts that can do some damage. The good news is, so far there's no rotation in any of this. This is all straight line wind, but because these storms are moving so fast, it pushes the wind ahead of it. Think of it, it's kind of like if you were in the car and you throw a baseball ahead of your car, right? So then the baseball is going even faster than your car is going. Same thing's happening with the wind here, where the storms are already moving at 60 miles per hour and pushing wind ahead of them, which makes it that much faster. This puts it into Marysville by about 5:30 and Plain City by 5:40. And there's a few other storms to keep an eye on. We've already seen some of these in this line generate some of these strong wind gusts north of Columbus as well. So this batch is on its way, and this is not part of the warning, but you can still get some strong winds out of this. Marion by 5:33 into Delaware by 5:42. There is going to be a potential for some damage from these already in parts of western Ohio. They're reporting trees down and that sort of thing. So be on the lookout. Northern and northwestern Ohio, the best chance for severe weather out of this line. There's a little bit of a chance with a marginal risk across the middle of the state. So your biggest impact tonight is going to be wind gusts of 35 miles an hour or more. In some cases, an isolated gust to 60 or stronger. Some pea-sized hail is possible out of this. The chance of a tornado is very small with any of this because this is all moving in a straight line rather than getting any rotation. Tempstar Heating and Cooling current conditions right now, we're at 72 in Columbus, 67 in Coshocton, and 81 in Waverly. A lot of this falls apart during the evening, and the storms begin to weaken pretty quickly. During the overnight hours, you notice that we're relatively dry. You could still get a scattered shower overnight. On Friday, those storms will come back again. So for the nighttime, the evening, 76 at 7 o'clock, down to 72 by 9. And overnight tonight, we'll see temperatures falling into the low 60s. So still relatively mild. A few scattered showers and thunderstorms and some gusty winds to go with that. Now Friday, if you're going to be out and about, do it earlier rather than later. We start the day with some sunshine. And then in the afternoon, here comes our next round. Some of these are going to generate some gusty winds again, but it's going to be a fairly wet afternoon on Friday, and we'll see some more of that then through the weekend as well. If you're going to get out and walk the dog, do it earlier rather than later. By noon, we're at 75 degrees, and you're turning cloudy again. Scattered showers and thunderstorms through the afternoon, with some of those generating some pretty gusty winds. But 77 for the afternoon, and those showers and thunderstorms beginning to taper off for a little while before they come back again on Saturday. Saturday up to 78 degrees in the afternoon, some scattered showers and thunderstorms and some sunshine. Then on Sunday, 80. You're still going to have to deal with some on and off showers and storms. And if you remember yesterday, we were looking at next week with lots of sunshine. Boy, has that changed. I'll explain why at 6 o'clock.
Thank you, Marshall. Amazon now makes face shields and plans to sell them for much cheaper than what's currently available. First, they're donating some to frontline workers. How many free face shields they're giving out after the break.
Lots, you're still running into delays in getting your jobless benefits, but we're going to get some answers straight from the top, and we'll tell you about the upgrade that's coming to the unemployment system, and you might get to talk to an actual person. That's coming up at 6.
Get ready for Amazon-branded face shields. Engineers from the company's drone delivery team, Prime Air, are working on new 3D printed face shields. Along with donating 10,000 to medical workers, there's a plan to give out another 20,000. You'll be able to buy them later this month. Amazon says they'll cost about 1/3 the price of other reusable face shields. Meanwhile, Amazon founder and CEO Jeff Bezos is projected to become the world's first trillionaire. According to a small business advice company, based on Amazon's growth, he'll hit that total by 2026. Bloomberg estimates the net wealth for Bezos is at $143 billion, up about $18 billion just since March. Governor DeWine announces a slew of reopenings. We've been talking about that happening across the state, some starting as soon as next week. His work in progress to restart our economy. The governor also pushes to help senior communities across the state with increased testing at long-term care facilities. After the break, we dig into some of the trouble with the numbers. And kids may be back at school this fall. Just before 6, some of the changes to classrooms that could help this become a reality.
Starts with this severe weather alert.
We're tracking a line of showers and thunderstorms that are generating some very gusty winds this evening, and that line is just about to make its way into the Columbus metro area. In the last 90 seconds or so, they've expanded the severe thunderstorm warning into Franklin County and on up into Delaware County. So this now lasts until about 6:15. This line of storms is moving at about 60 miles per hour, and it's pushing wind ahead of it. So that wind is going even faster. So this has a history of producing some very gusty winds, and in western Ohio it has done little damage, but it moves by very, very quickly. So it is just about to make its way into London. You can see it on the edge of Madison County there. Give that about 6 or 8 minutes and that'll be into London pretty quickly, and you're already starting to see that get into Marysville as well, on up into Taylor Township. This is generating some heavy rain and gusty winds, and that is then headed over into Delaware County. So at 60 miles an hour, it won't take it long to move through the area. Bucyrus right now with some very gusty winds and some heavy rain. That stretches back past Upper Sandusky and then on down across 23 into parts of western Marion County. This is also making its way toward the east at about 60 miles per hour. But we're looking for this to weaken very quickly this evening. As it gets into the central and eastern portions of the state, it falls apart, and so that's going to make things a little quieter once this goes by. In the meantime, for the evening, be weather aware for the next hour or two as this moves through. 76 degrees at 7 o'clock with some of those storms moving through, and 73 by 8 o'clock. We're quieter after that. Continuing to track these storms, we'll be back with that in a few minutes.
the biggest thing that will stop the spread of disease, quite honestly, will be how we live and choose to live going forward.
Dr. Amy Acton answering our Tom Bosco's question today about what she would tell people who favor a stay-at-home order. It comes as the state announces a big list of reopenings.
Among them, daycares, day camps, campgrounds, community pools, BMV offices, gyms, dance studios, even horse racing, all allowed to open up by the end of the month. Now, there really is a lot to digest tonight based on what we heard today, including all the rules and regulations they all have to follow.
We're going to make it as easy as possible for you. Tom Bosco at the briefing today. He joins us now live from the State House. Tom?
Yeah, you know, the governor really worked today to justify his decisions, despite admitting that the numbers aren't really where he hoped they would be as far as slowing the coronavirus. But still, he's moving forward with a lot of reopenings that'll flood more people out into the public, including children and their parents trying to get back to work and play. Now, among those places to reopen, pools, the ones covered by public health departments, not the water parks or amusement parks. DeWine says the state will be studying this reopening and its effects closely to see what happens. Is it too soon to reopen? Well, that's going to be up to local communities. DeWine and the lieutenant governor warning that it's going to be up to those local governments to make the final decisions on whether or not to reopen.
Much of this will be open to the local community's decision. We are not forcing them to open anything in this. We are allowing them to do so.
Now, the governor pointing out that social distancing is going to be more important now, maybe more important than it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. DeWine indicating that he does not want to reopen the economy again, only to have to shut everything down again at some point in the future. He also said that this is a work in progress and a lot of adjustments could be made. For now, reporting live at the State House, I'm Tom Bosco, ABC 6 News.
Thank you, Tom. Now, as more of the state gets ready to reopen, let's take a look at the numbers. Worldwide deaths now topping 300,000, 85,000, almost a third here in the U.S. Much better numbers here in Ohio. Of the 26,000 cases reported, there are a little more than 1,500 deaths.
The state's new long-term care numbers show Franklin County with the second largest number of deaths in nursing homes and similar facilities. More than 50 different long-term care homes have at least one case of the virus, either among staff or the residents. And these numbers are updated weekly, but they took an extra day to be released. Almost 80% of our state's coronavirus deaths are among people 70 and older, and many of them live in buildings with people of the same age group. Luann Stoya explains what these numbers mean for these facilities.
We showed you when Attorney General's office investigators raided a Worthington nursing home after getting tips, including that ill patients were not tested or separated from healthy residents.
We want to make sure that if you have a loved one in a nursing home and you walked up to that facility, you knew how many cases were in that nursing home.
113 health departments are working with almost 2,000 nursing and assisted living facilities in Ohio. The Ohio Healthcare Association's Pete Van Runkle says it's required they report cases to the state and file this form so they can be counted.
If there are any providers who are not, they should be. They should be keeping people informed, particularly if, as you say, there's COVID in the building.
The health department tells us there is a learning curve since the numbers have never been reported before the April 15th mandate, and they can fluctuate.
If there was a probable case one week and they listed, but then it turned off not to be a negative case, then that person would drop off and that case would drop off. So that is a reason why the numbers sometimes can be different.
Testing becomes a priority for Ohio nursing homes. ODH says be prepared that the numbers of reported cases of COVID-19 will go.
We're not hiding numbers. We are trying to be as transparent as possible. We want to be accurate. And we're going to make sure we verify the numbers before we post them because they are so important to people.
ODH says good data helps them look for hot spots. Right now, a majority of coronavirus cases are in nursing homes and prison. 6 News.
Pushing state lawmakers for mass testing system-wide. This comes correctional east of Cambridge is becoming the newest prison hotspot. At least 60 staff and 100 inmates have tested positive. 2,500 inmates are in quarantine Has only happened at prisons in Marion, Pickaway, and the Franklin Medical Center. Well, libraries are not part of the governor's reopening plans right now, so they're getting creative, where you'll be able to do curbside pickup starting next week.
Before 6, the plan from state leaders to make school safe this fall.
Want to give you another quick check on the storms that are just moving into the metro area now. They've been racing across the state, and now they're getting really close to Columbus. You can see the orange area here is a severe thunderstorm warning that includes Columbus and Delaware. These storms right now are just getting into Madison County, so Plain City is going to see this in just a few minutes up in Union County. London will get this in just a few minutes as well. It's already coming through Catawba. It is going to generate some very gusty winds as it comes through. Marysville with some very heavy rain as we speak. Plenty of lightning and thunder to go with these as well. And this line stretches all the way up toward Bucyrus and then on up toward the lake. We're tracking. We'll let you know how soon they're going to get into Columbus in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Marshall. Keep a close eye on that. Libraries still can't reopen, but there will be more resources available starting next week. Starting Monday, 3 Columbus Metropolitan Library branches will offer curbside pickup. If you have items ready for pickup at these libraries, they'll be available. If your local library isn't on the list, it may add this option by the end of the month. Curbside will be contact-free. Now, you know what isn't contact-free? Hockey. After the break, why Blue Jackets GM Jarmo Kekalainen is optimistic that his team will finish its season. And if kids can go back to school this fall, classrooms will look very different. The proposed plan for reopening schools is coming up just before 6.
ABC6 is on your side, focusing on your finances. Matt Lee, financial advisor from CUSO Financial Services at Kemba Wealth Management, is here with us. And Matt, if you have the money available, should you pay off your mortgage or should you put that money away for a rainy day?
Kurt, that's a great question, and we get it all the time. Personally, I think people should have a rainy day fund and keep their savings to themselves. I find that, or I believe that the compounding of interest on one's savings over long periods of time will provide a benefit that far outweighs the short-term interest savings you might receive by paying off your mortgage. So I like people to save their money and carry the mortgage if it's financed properly at today's low rates. You know, it really is an individual decision, and consulting your trusted financial advisor first would be important.
All right. Thank you, Matt. I'm Kurt Ludlow, and we're focusing on your finances.
Among the governor's reopening announcements, horse racing will be back next Friday. 2 tracks focused on harness singled out, including Scioto Downs. That's according to the Ohio State Racing Commission. Qualifying will start this Saturday, followed by live racing next Friday. Fans, unfortunately, not allowed in the stands. Casino-related aspects and racinos are not allowed to reopen yet. Jarmo Kekalainen remains optimistic that the Jackets season will be resumed. What are the chances that Columbus will become an NHL hub city for that? It's one of the proposals that our Clay Hall asked the Jackets GM about today.
No shortage of ice in Columbus. It's thrown into the slot. Nationwide Arena has 2 sheets, including the ice house. There's the shot. And Chiller North. That's part of the hub city concept, sending multiple teams to 4 cities to resume the season.
We have lots of different things going for us. There's lots of good hotels near the rink to accommodate all the teams that may be coming to Columbus. So I think we presented a good case why this should be a hub city if the league decides to go that route. And that's all we can do. Just tell them why we should be the city and the team to host it.
How serious is the league about this concept?
I think they're exploring every option possible to make sure that we get, when we get back to playing, it'll be the safest possible.
During the downtime, the team has been community-minded.
We're excited at the prospect of getting back out in front of our fans when it's safe. But right now, our main priority is just everyone to take care of themselves and us to encourage everyone to do that.
It'll be exciting whether it's in June or July or be exciting, and hopefully we'll get a chance to compete for the Stanley Cup.
It sounds like you're convinced you'll play.
I'm an optimist, so as long as it's possible, I keep believing it is, and I think we all want it.
I'm Clay Hall, ABC 6 Sports.
As we continue to track these strong storms moving through the metro area, if you look to your west, you're going to see these coming through. Some parts of central Ohio are already getting this, and it's moving very fast. A severe thunderstorm warning includes portions of Madison, Franklin, Delaware, and Union counties until 6:15 tonight. And that's because these storms have a history now of generating 60-plus mile-per-hour wind gusts. And that's partly because they're moving so fast themselves. So you can see this past Catawba now. It's on its way toward London as this gets a little farther to the east, crossing over 62 and then heading toward West Jeff. This is probably going to give you some pretty heavy rain as it comes through as well. Get 53 into Upper Arlington, then you're looking at the city of Columbus in downtown at about 6:04 and on the east side by about 10 after 6. So these are going to move very quickly as they come through. Here's a closer look at where we are in Union County, moving into Delaware County. Then just on the edge of the city of Delaware right now. It's coming through Ostrander with some very heavy rain. It's just past Marysville now. So Marysville on the back end with some lighter rain happening there. But the wind gusts ahead of this are very strong. This then stretches up past Marion. Marion, city of, has already had some of the worst of this. And Bucyrus is pretty much finished with the heavy rain, but now it's moving into Crestline and Galion, then headed over toward Ontario and Mansfield. This is all being fueled in part by that warmer, humid air that we have out there this afternoon. 72 right now in Columbus. The rest of your Tempstar heating and cooling current conditions now at 77 in Chillicothe and Courthouse, 81 in Waverly, 70 in Mount Vernon, and you're in the 60s in Coshocton and Zanesville. So the evening tonight, temperatures in the 70s, on and off showers, a few thunderstorms with that. Once this big line goes through, it's pretty much just some scattered random showers after that. 63 for the eventual low. What's behind this is not nearly as strong as what's happening now. Tomorrow morning, we're going to start out dry, but you notice that there are still some scattered showers in the area. And by the time we get into the afternoon, here comes the next round of this with some on and off showers, some rumbles of thunder, and some pretty good downpours to go through. But it's finished by 11 o'clock in the evening. So a mild, humid morning, a mix of sun and clouds to start with, and then in the afternoon and evening, this next round of scattered showers and storms, some of those with some pretty gusty winds. Now, the good news in all of this is we're not seeing any turning out there. This is all straight line, which means the chances for tornadoes are very, very small, but it's possible to do some straight damage. By noon tomorrow, you're at 75 degrees, 74 by 5 in the afternoon with another round of showers and thunderstorms. So we'll keep those in the forecast. If you have outdoor plans tomorrow, do it afternoon. Afternoon looks like it's going to get a little stormy again. 77 degrees for the afternoon high. And then on Saturday, another round of hit or miss, scattered showers and thunderstorms, plus some sunshine. It's going to be very similar to what we had today, where we had some sunshine breaking through and then some storms. It's going to be like that again Saturday. 78 degrees for the afternoon. Sunday, more storms are on the way with a high of 80 degrees. And then you notice this has changed a whole lot from what we were talking about last night. Last night we were talking about how great next week looks. Not so much anymore. Showers and thunderstorms for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and part of Thursday. I'll show you why coming up at 6.
Thank you very much, Marshall. Here in that storm moving in right now. All right, just a few more days to help us raise money for the Salvation Army with our Your Neighbor Needs You campaign. Any money you can donate stays local here in Central Ohio. Thank you for your generosity as we near $750,000 tonight. If you want to chip in, just head to abc6onyourside.com/care. You might get to talk to an actual person. We'll tell you about the upgrade that's coming to Ohio's unemployment system to help people who are stuck. Next at 6.
Also, we told you about coronavirus ravaging nursing homes, and we still don't know the full toll. But if you're worried about a loved one on the inside, we can help you look out for them. And yesterday, this guy's insurance company wouldn't cover his storm damage. What a difference a day makes. Find out what happened after ABC 6 stormed in. Next at 6. Ohio 24/7 Now, the only news app built for the OHIO and customized by you. Take control of what you watch when you want. Ohio's biggest cities, Ohio's biggest news. Just download Ohio 24/7 Now for free. Ohio University plans to reopen its campuses this fall. Several different groups, including some focused on testing, student well-being, staff, and academics, are now working on plans. And by the end of the month, OU's president will receive recommendations. The school will follow recommendations from the governor as well. Leadership says it'll be ready for remote learning if necessary. State leaders also working on guidelines for reopening grade schools. And the Ohio Department of Education is getting some input from teachers, again the governor and the health department. And Alexis Moberger obtained a copy of the proposed plan. She shows us what schools could look like come fall.
I'm holding a copy of the 12-page proposed plan. The Ohio Department of Education tells me, though, that this is just a draft and several changes could still be made. But part of the recommendation in this plan is that all students and staff be required to wear face masks. The Ohio Department of Education now working on guidelines if schools get the green light to open back up this fall.
Getting students back into their routines and into the classroom as soon as is safe makes sense.
The proposed plan suggests daily temperature checks, hand sanitizing units, and requiring all teachers and students to wear face masks. And desks would be spaced at least 6 feet apart.
So I think the state has done a great job. I think we're taking the right steps in terms of managing first the health and safety, but there also is been a lot of focus on learning and equity.
The report also says schools can reduce class sizes by having a mix of online and in-person classes.
We're going to see more and more schools and districts using a blend of in-person teaching and online learning. So I don't think this is going to go away. Frankly,
Ohio Excel's president Lisa Gray has been a part of the discussion. She says come fall, so many students will be academically behind. To help combat this, the plan suggests schools could use looping and keep the same students with the same teacher from the previous year. The plan also includes a need for more internet access, especially if schools want or need to go back to remote learning.
We need to make sure that we're laying the groundwork so that when this happens again, our students are not continually disadvantaged by that.
Alexis Moberger, ABC 6 News.
Next at 6, talking to a real live human being? Is it possible when it comes to Ohio's unemployment system? Well, it might be thanks to a new upgrade. If your benefits aren't moving forward enough, you might be getting a call back. We'll explain next on ABC 6 News.